Hi, and welcome to 647, but this is Saturday, and this is meant to be a bonus session, but it is really the culmination of 6 years of watching gross injustice in our country just go unchecked, unabated, no justice, everybody getting away with everything. And then finally, yesterday, the first real glimmer that we as Americans are going to see some kind of justice for what is crime on an incredible scale. And this is only going to be a piece of it. And I'm not going to do this justice. I'll just tell you straight up. I am a man on the street just seeing all this. And for years, people close to me have really just thought I was nuts. And now they're going to think they're nuts because the truth is going to be coming out. But let's say if the truth was a 30-foot high tsunami, what is going to come out from the mainstream media and from Hollywood and from the left and from everyone that needs to make sure this truth doesn't get out will be a 90-foot tsunami trying to distract you this entire time. So we're in for historically just an unbelievable time, and it all kicked off yesterday, right? And so what were you seeing before this kicked off? You were seeing a shiny object, nonsense, that was meant to distract everybody from what Tulsi Gabbard was going to be doing. And the distraction was that the Wall Street Journal claimed that they had a birthday card that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday that included a line drawing of a woman's silhouette, and the wording on the card didn't sound like Trump. Trump has never done any line drawings anywhere in his life. This was all manufactured nonsense. They would not show it to the White House when they called to talk about this with the White House. Trump said, "You better not do this because I know for a fact this is all fake, and I'm going to sue you if you do it." They went ahead with it because they needed the distraction. And it didn't work at all. And the reason it didn't work at all is because there's been a famine of truth, and Americans are waking up to that, and they are seeking the truth. And so 2 years ago, if the Wall Street Journal would have pulled this, the mainstream legacy media would have been able to milk it for 7 to 10 days. Now they can barely get 48 hours because people just go, yeah, no, I know that's not real. So I want to talk about 3 things that happened yesterday, but I want to kick it off because it is also fundamentally evil. One is the Obama documents that Tulsi Gabbard dropped. 2 is the request that Pam Bondy made from the Department of Justice for all of the Epstein documents to be unsealed. And 3 is Laura Loomer's interview with a Navy whistleblower regarding the deal between Obama and Microsoft. When Obama ran for president, Microsoft was his major donor. And then a deal was cut once he was president. And it's absolutely horrific on a treasonous scale. It's just unbelievable. So those 3 things, I'm not going to go into depth. I just want you to know about them, and maybe many of you do. That just means that things are going great. So I want to kick this off, though, with some biblical truth about justice, because people wonder why all these MAGA people are upset about Epstein and all that. It's not so much Epstein. It's that we constantly seeing a two-tier justice system where the regular working stiff gets nailed all the time for minor infractions, and then the elites pull off all kinds of horrifically large infractions, and nobody ever suffers at all. In fact, many times they advance from doing it. And then with Epstein, we add the over 1,100 underage girls molested, maligned, abused, and basically tormented. And Americans don't like seeing that. And they especially don't like seeing that it continues unabated. We went from 1,100 children suffering under pedophiles to 300,000 that crossed the border under Biden. So we have to see that there is justice in our country, or there is no reason to play along nicely. And we've all been playing along nicely. And that had tragic results during the whole vaccine crime. There are so many crimes against humanity that need to be aired out, that are just filthy laundry that needs to get out in the sunlight. So I want to start with just a few lines from Ephesians 4 to give us an anchor before we get into all this. So Paul writes in the letter to the Ephesian church, all human morality derives from the authority of God. And without God, there is no such thing as right or wrong conduct. The immoral, being darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the hardening of their hearts, who being past feeling gave themselves up to lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. And then in Ecclesiastes, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. So what we're looking for, and what people have been yelling about, is that they want to see justice. And justice means to set things right. And we're talking about oppressors who deserve punishment, and the weak who deserve protection. And punishment is a demonstration of justice. So whatever kabuki nonsense our Congress would love to pull off for all of this, we demand justice. And the only way we know there's justice is if there's punishment when wrongdoing has been found out. And so this cannot be like everything else that comes about on Capitol Hill. All right. This morning I listened to General Mike Flynn, who was somebody whose family was nearly destroyed by Obama and the Justice Department that he put together, and that was unfortunately allowed to stay with Comey and Chris Wray and all of these people. And what General Flynn had to say was that Obama had started a 16-year plan that he was working on in 2015, probably even much longer before than that. So it was supposed to be 8 years of doctored elections for Obama, and then a handoff to Hillary Clinton, and 8 years of doctored elections for her. And those 16 years of stolen elections were to ensure the destruction of America. That was their goal. Okay? And when I say that, you have to know that even right now, as I'm taping this, the CIA is still trying to stop all this. our CIA, right? This is a giant deep state organism that is trying desperately to survive. Flynn describes this as the biggest crime in the history of the United States and a full-on coup to take over, a conspiracy to overthrow the presidency of Donald Trump. This all kicked off on December 8th, 2016. And it was when the Obama administration and basically all of their cabinet and their security people had looked into whether or not the Russians had tried to fool with the election. And they found out unanimously across the board that there was no Russian interference in the 2016 election. And then Obama made a move. And his move was to say, we're going to change all that information. We are going to manufacture intelligence that says to the American people the exact opposite, that we have a dossier, which Hillary Clinton had paid for through the DNC, and it's the Steele Dossier. And it's all false information about Donald Trump colluding with Russia. So that kicks off on December 8th, 2016. And that's what Tulsi released yesterday. And by the way, Tulsi deserves every accolade that we can think of because she has been isolated, and we were led to believe that Trump was angry with her and therefore not including her in the cabinet meetings, and she was sitting down at the far end, furthest away from the press and the cameras with this kind of downtrodden look on her face. And the whole time she was preparing these documents so that they would be immediately available to the American public with 100% transparency. Okay, so that's what transpired yesterday. She downloaded all of that onto X. So there's over 100 documents, and they all point to treason. December 8th was when this change was made, and on December 9th, the members of Obama's National Security Principles Committee, who are we talking about? We're talking about James Clapper, John Brennan, Susan Rice, John Kerry, Brian McKeon, Loretta Lynch, Andrew McCabe, Avril Haines, right? All these people had already seen on December 8th that all of the findings said there was absolutely no Russian collusion and no collusion with Donald Trump and the Russians. And on December 9th, Obama said, we're changing the whole thing. And that's all in the documents that Tulsi let out to the public yesterday. So all of these folks conspired under Barack's direction to falsify information on Russian interference and deny, this is key, deny Trump access to the presidential daily briefing. So once Trump was determined to be the winner of the 2016 election, as the president-elect, he is supposed to get that daily briefing along with the former president. So they cut Trump off from those daily briefings. So that's a major, major infraction, and that is part of this coup. So they denied Trump access to the presidential daily briefing while they worked with the media to cook up Russiagate. And this false information was coordinated between Hillary and Obama. So they are both caught red-handed in this. And Clinton and Barack with the Steele, which Hillary had the DNC pay for via Debbie Wasserman Schultz, another person who's going to get caught up in this. Matt Taibbi, Racket News. was saying that just this handful of documents, and this is only the first few of hundreds, holds explosive implications for the pursuit of a much larger pool of White House officials than previously understood. So, who are we talking about? We're talking about Valerie Jarrett. We're talking about James Comey, Chris Wray, Lisa Monaco, Victoria Nuland, Bob Mueller, who carried on this investigation for over a year and cost the American people $40 million and found nothing. And then when he was asked to testify about it, he couldn't remember anything. So that's going to be a very popular defense, and it's not going to fly when all the receipts are printed and in everybody's hand. What we understand now, including Barack Hussein Obama himself, in what appears to be a top-down effort to create a false narrative about Russia meddling and helping Donald Trump to get elected, and all of this being falsely created at the behest of Obama and Hillary, and there is no answer to these printed documents. So we're going to see all kinds of machinations, but all the receipts are right there. These people are guilty right now. So we'll see what the process is. But as Americans, we cannot let this go off into the ethers the way things do in the swamp, right? What they try to do is wear you out, wear you down. The mainstream media will be casting aspersions on Tulsi and all of this. And you have to dig for the truth. That's why I'm doing this in an inefficient way, but at least so that you know that these things are real and the crimes are high treason, okay? And we cannot let that stand, or we will not have a country when we get to the midterms. All right, so that's just a taste of what Tulsi let out yesterday. Then Pam Bondy and the Epstein files. Donald Trump said, I want it all out. I want it all out, and I want it unsealed. So Pam Bondy filed a motion to have the grand jury testimonies relating to the convicted sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein unsealed, all of them. And the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, also asked the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, to release grand jury transcripts of an indictment against Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell. So this Southern District Court is the one that we're hoping Jeanine Pirro will be overseeing, and she could definitely handle this heat. So whatever is left that's not been scrubbed, when we say we want those Epstein files and we want them unsealed, we don't know what's been redacted, taken out, when all of this came up to New York City, to the FBI office there. But when it was down in Florida, I can't think of the attorney's name now, that was handling that and handling it with kid gloves. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, he didn't suffer at all for what was going on down in Florida. And when the district attorney was, I think his name was Acosta, was confronted about that, he said, I was told, hands off, Jeffrey is a CIA asset. Okay? So when MAGA's yelling, it's not just about, oh, we want the prurient information about all of this pedophilia. It isn't that. It's that Jeffrey Epstein runs way deep. Unsealing these documents, we could hope that there'd be something there. My guess is it's all been scrubbed once it got up to New York City, because this is where all the big players are, the ones who might have gotten injured, and they all had influence over that shop. So I can't believe that they would allow that much to survive. But here's the things that we know about Jeffrey Epstein. He abused over 1,100 underage girls, and he didn't do that by himself. And he wasn't flying around to all of these different properties, leaving the country and coming back in and flying all kinds of important people with him so that they could go and play checkers. Okay? It's just not arguable. So that's one thing. We also know that he worked for the CIA, and we know that he worked for Mossad. And we know that his main gift was laundering drug money and weapons money for the CIA, and he was very good at it. And their interest was that there would be no blowback, that nothing could be traced back. And so all of that drug and weapon money from around the world was untraceable and allowed them to have influence over countries and politicians and businesses, all kinds of things, support certain armies and injure others. So all of that was Jeffrey's claim to fame. And if we roll the tape back on Jeffrey and go back to, he grows up in Coney Island, New York, doesn't go to college, and here's where it just gets too creepy, okay? He meets a guy named Don Barr in a bookstore, and Don Barr starts to groom Jeffrey, okay? And Don Barr was a CIA guy whose cover position was that he was the headmaster of the Dalton School, one of the top private schools on the Upper East Side. So he takes Jeffrey and he makes Jeffrey a part of the faculty of the Dalton School. And the guy, he doesn't even have a college degree, but he's the headmaster, so he can make that happen. And Don Barr is actually Bob Barr's father. So Don Barr's CIA, Bob Barr was CIA and worked for the CIA the whole time he's going through law school. And then through those connections gets made Attorney General for Bush and for Trump in 2016. And then when Jeffrey Epstein is supposedly murdered or suicided in the Metropolitan Jail, Bob Barr's the Attorney General who's overseeing all the documentation of that. So does that just seem a little too convenient to you all the way through, that the Barrs are involved with Epstein the whole way? I'm just saying that whatever comes out from these unsealed documents, if it's not enough, we as Americans have to know that Epstein runs far deeper in a lot of awful things in our government. I'll just throw one more to you, okay? And that is that Epstein ran the money, weapons, and coke in the Iran-Contra deal. That affair under Bush Sr. was all run out of a small airport in Arkansas with Bill Clinton oversight as governor. You see how we're played in all this? You see why all of this has to be completely torn open and all of it put out in the sunlight so we can all see what has been going on. So that's Obama. This is Epstein. On the Obama front, we have Hillary. On this Epstein front, we've got Bill Clinton. And from the drug running in Arkansas to flying around with Epstein with these underage girls, it all has to come out. Then later last night, Laura Loomer has a whistleblower by the name of Tom Schiller from the Navy on to discuss his findings of obstruction in our own government. So here's this story basically in a nutshell. When Obama was running to become president, Microsoft decided to be his major donor. And they were. Of course, all these things are back scratchers, right? We'll help you become president, and you're going to help us. So Obama puts together a tech project for the United States government. It's a no bidder, right? So Microsoft is the only winner at $30 billion. And here is ostensibly what's happening is that some entity needs to oversee all of the tech involved in all of the agencies of the U.S. government, and that includes all the military branches. Okay, so when you go to your job and you have a problem with your computer, you call tech support, right? So that's what Microsoft was getting $30 billion for. And then every other government contractor, then they try to find some subcontractor to do it on the cheap. So they make tons of money. And the service is awful. And most of the time, the people can't even speak English. So this is what the leaders in Microsoft are going to do, particularly a guy by the name of Craig Mundy, who was in charge of Microsoft's China strategy. They're going to have all that tech support done by 90% Chinese tech workers, Chinese nationals working in mainland China with their loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. Just let that sink in. So nobody would think there was anything amiss. There was no espionage going on. They decided that they were going to have a group of people called escorts. So these were people getting out of the military who had top secret clearance. They didn't have to know anything about tech, right? No coding, no tech experience, just a top secret clearance. And Obama's idea was, well, nobody's going to think anything's wrong. They're going to be overseeing this tech work. And then to make sure they did a really excellent job of that kind of counter-espionage experience, they paid these people $15 an hour, okay? So now you have people getting $15 an hour to oversee tech support in mainland China with people they can't talk to. And even if they do a handoff with those people, they have no idea what they're saying. They have no idea what they're coding. And here's what they were doing for 10 years. They were capturing all information on every computer in every agency in our government. And Obama put that together. And Microsoft knew it was going on. And now this clown, Craig Mundy, he's a major advisor for OpenAI. These are people who have absolutely no patriotism in their blood at all. In fact, they hate our country and they're trying to destroy it. And they need to be punished. So this came out last night, and then Tom Cotton gets on the line to Pete Hegseth and says, hey, I don't know if you heard about this, but this is bad for us. It looks like we're a bunch of clowns, because you are a bunch of clowns. But, clowns are supposed to make people laugh, okay? This is so horrific, so awful, that the Chinese Communist Party knows every single thing. It's just unbelievable. Oh, and here's another thing that the whistleblowers of the UK is they've signed on to have this same program, right? So he's saying they better wise up, because all of their information is going to be stolen and compromised, just like ours has been for 10 years. So Laura asks him, what are we going to do? And he goes, we have to go back to pre-Obama era model, no cloud sharing, none of that. I don't even know what that means. Okay, but somebody who understands this stuff better understand that for 10 years, Microsoft knew that this espionage was going on in every single agency and branch of the military. That is high effing treason. And whatever the fix is, it cannot be something like this again. And it cannot be business as usual at the clown college of Congress, where, we're debating madly about getting the price down on the tech support for the agencies of the government, and it's still $30 billion. And then most of that is skimmed off the top, and some poor guy getting out of the military is told, well, you're going to be an escort for Chinese tech support at $15 an hour. It's just absolutely anti-American from top to bottom, from the oversight of Congress to Obama. I'm not even going to start on him. That cat he is so profoundly evil. This has to be the end of him. So that's a quick summary. It's got not much to do with 647, but this is the break in the clouds, and it's been heavy overcast for 6 years. And don't let the legacy media con you out of the truth, because it's all coming out now. And when I say that, the New York Times is already saying, oh no, it's something else. The Wall Street Journal saying, oh no, it's something else. And ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all of that garbage legacy media is going to be trying to distract you. I'm telling you, I intended to put this out this morning. Everywhere I looked, it's completely covered up. Absolutely covered up. You cannot find anything except that Trump's lying. That's what you can find out. Trump's lying about all this stuff because he was dirty with Russia and he's dirty with Epstein, and they're trying to ignore the Microsoft thing because that's gigantic and really, really damaging for the American people and for our country. So this is what we're going to be chipping away at for the next year. And let's keep staying awake, because that's what's necessary. And the legacy media gets very frustrated when, I'll just reiterate something from yesterday's 647. They're coming up with all of this dirt, trying to bring Donald Trump down. And the CNN poll of Republicans during this past week of all of this craziness going on in his administration, his numbers went from 86% to 88%. And look, the tariffs haven't really even kicked in yet. And there's already hundreds of billions coming in just on cars and steel. On August 1st, all the country tariffs come in. And again, the legacy media has made a distraction of all that, saying, oh, it's terrible. It's going to be terrible. That's why the Fed has to keep rates up. That's all a lie. Okay? When those tariffs kick in and start accumulating, you know what's going to happen? Donald Trump is going to end the Fed, and he's going to end the IRS, and we will not be paying income tax anymore. And that's all going to happen, I'm going to predict, before November of 26, because it's his ticket to a landslide you can't possibly steal this midterm election. If everybody's got their, I'm not going to say everybody, but everyone making $150,000 or less pays no more income tax, that's going to make his other landslide wins look like nothing. So there's a lot to look forward to. There is a lot that is unholy and awful, and we're going to have to watch it all. And just as the Bible says, we have to see justice. and you can't see justice without punishment. And all of this deserves significant punishment. All right? So have a great rest of your Saturday, and I'm going to send out parables to you Sunday. All right? Have a great time, and God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thanks.